r/2XChromosomes. Secretly 7557 says, conversation between friends turned me off from professional therapy completely. I was on a trip with some friends and mutual friends. 3 of them had the same job as residential counselors that they bonded over. Over dinner they were recalling funny stories about their patient/guest/residents, and then it took a weird turn. They started bashing some of these people as basket cases and attention seekers for things that are mild to me, and explicitly poking fun at their trauma. For example, one said something like, "Oh, she was really annoying, and when she was talking to me about her CSA I just wanted to sleep." I completely get it with psych stuff as far as problem people. I get it when it comes to people blowing off steam about work. But now I can't unsee confiding with a therapist and her sharing my private stuff over dinner and laughs with people I don't know. Therapists are just workers, and I'm not any different from a screaming toddler to a teacher, so what's the point? I can't confide in anyone like that. Not to mention it's warped my view of these people, but there's no one to go to now to talk about it. So I'm just sitting here, not sure what to think. Edit. Too long. Didn't read. The consensus is that mental health professionals are just people, and making fun of someone sharing trauma with you, as you're paid to do, is gallows humor, and no different than making fun of customers. Every act of altruism is ultimately for personal gain. There is no. Robert Tuku says, those people suck. But I do want to say I also have 2 friends who are therapists and neither of them have ever bashed a patient to me. In fact, they are meticulously careful not to discuss their patients with their friends at all. Julia Aquitafanis says, I have several clients, friends and former colleagues who work in that industry. Never once have I heard stories about people, especially in a negative way. However, I do have a friend whose story was used in a psychologist's book without permission. So there are definitely assholes out there. Robert Tuku says, I think the sad truth is like any field, therapists are people, so there's inevitably going to be a spectrum of bad ones, flawed but well-meaning ones, excellent ones, etc. Slackash says, I don't fault your reaction. There's a difference between blowing off steam about work and bashing someone else's trauma. Mattress 757 says, there can be a difference, but they can also be the same thing. Just because you call them 2 different names doesn't make them entirely separate things. Detective Crashmore says, nah, if you're bashing people like Op said and giving specific examples of people's issues, that's too much and it's unprofessional. The line for blowing off steam about work for therapists ends at actively making fun of people's issues or calling them boring, etc. Those are unprovoked and direct personal attacks. Op compared it to retail workers making fun of customers. In that context, making fun of somebody who was very rude to the staff or made a scene could be considered blowing off steam, but just making fun of anyone who comes in the store, based on stuff like their looks, etc., would be pretty trashy and uncalled for. Adis9167 says, damn, your friends kinda suck. It's one thing to shit talk about clients or coworkers when lives and emotions aren't on the line. It's another to shit talk about vulnerable people who rely on you for help and understanding. Therapists are just people though, not perfect. I hope if you need therapy you won't let this get in the way. Ultimately, I also believe that what other people think about us isn't really our business at all. Good luck to you, friend. Pollen_time says, yes. The takeaway here is not that all therapists are like this, they are not, but that your friends are genuinely awful people, who by the way, seem to be violating patient confidentiality and other professional norms. Whiskey Out Abazoot says, if they aren't giving identifying information, I don't believe that would violate patient confidentiality. Friendly Fiber says, that's frick, ed up. These people should not be talking about their clients. much less in such a horrible way. It shows a startling lack of objectivity, empathy, and maturity, all of which are required for the profession. r/2XChromosomes. Chisakat94 says, 5 years, gone. My long-term boyfriend and I broke up last night. We lived together, at least since in December. I've been carrying the majority of the financial burden since we moved. I have some ongoing health issues going on that have caused me to pass out and nearly be hospitalized. More testing being done for that to find out what the cause is, hoping for some good results next week. Apparently he doesn't have as much fun with me as he does his buddies. Y'all, I have straight up asked this man to do many things with me, and he doesn't want to do anything except game with his friends. He was surprised I agreed with him last night when he had his usual temper tantrum of why are we together. I think he was expecting me to fight for our relationship as I usually did. There is nothing left to fight for. Have fun moving back in with your parents and don't let the door hit you on your way out. Nod in it, he says. Well done. Life should get better from now on. You know, when they say relationships are hard, what that means is that sustaining a loving relationship through years, when kids come, when careers and life goals conflict, when tragedies happen, is tough to keep as a priority, but the relationship itself should be easy and sustaining. If it's taking this much effort to keep it on track when everything is okay, then it's a clear sign to nope out of it. Pondering Pachyderm says, not 5 years gone. It's a lifetime of bullshit saved. Gemalu says, also so much learned about what you should find in a partner. Femc Nerd says, the best way to think about this is that you have grown as a person and now know you have to stick up for your needs. You are free. Ujatraxaflan says, I wasted 9 years on a guy like this. I'm glad you got out now. Pollen_time says, he really thought you were going to stay his girlfriend appliance. Don't take him back when he inevitably promises he gets it now and will do better. Best wishes on the test results next week. Nervous_explorer_898 says, be prepared for the love bombing to begin once he realizes he needs you more than you need him. Chisakat94 says, I'm not even exaggerating when I say that's all that's been going on since yesterday. Suddenly he wants us to watch movies together, order in food, etc. Looking for any opportunity to be affectionate, trying to touch me and make me laugh. Bringing me tea. Whatever. Quickwit Queen says, and when he does this, do you respond with, I don't want tea/a movie/your attention. I want to know when you're moving out. Glazat says, I know it feels like wasting time, but you have grown, and hopefully that will move you towards more mature, tender, loving and respectful relationships. I'm glad you're out. I'm sorry for the pain you're going through now. It can feel like mourning, and it's awful, but the future will be better. Wishing you all the best. Jackie Enatus says, I will never understand how a partner can just not give a shit about helping their so. Especially when they are sick. You definition deserve better. Hope your health situation improves. Disjointed_chameleon says, I just left my husband of 9 years about 10 days ago for similar reasons. He wanted all the nice stuff in life, but hardly did anything to contribute to or maintain it. He's now living in a decrepit, tiny, 600 square foot apartment in a not so great part of town out in the sticks. Me. I'm living in an almost 1,200 square feet condo with gorgeous finishes, bunch of extra amenities included in my rent, in the heart of the city, with almost everything I need within walking distance. Men, am I right? Random number 11 says, frick him. Men like that are not men but spoiled children. And may you return to health and find a partner worthy of your attention. r/2XChromosomes. Scarlet_Poppers says, muted all AmIUgly adjacent subreddits. It seems like there are a dozen or so subreddits where perfectly normal looking people ask strangers if they're ugly or to give them a rating 0 to 10 or to help them look smacks. It's not enough that these subreddits are full of commenters telling up awful things about themselves. If you dare compliment up, you are downvoted and have your comments removed in some cases. IDK if it's just the current times or if this has been around since before the internet, but the amount of pretty, normal looking and maybe even just average people posting if they're ugly kind of breaks my heart. It's like the expectation to be movie star hot is making us think our very normal nasolabial folds or less than straight teeth make us deformed or unsightly. I'm so close to throwing my phone into traffic to attempt to be happier. Shaka Spear says, I agree with you. The sheer number of normal or even attractive people asking if they need this, that, or the other surgery is staggering and heartbreaking. Has self-esteem reached an all-time low these days? Is it influencers who make people doubt their looks? TheHappyJinx says, oh goodness, this is just the latest version of it all. I remember back in the late 90s and early 2000s, there were sites like Hatornet and Ratomy, boobs, turds, etc. I have also muted this rash of validation subs. And that's really what it all comes down to. Just people seeking validation. I would hazard a bet at least half, if not most, of the people posting in those subs know they are at least average or higher, according to modern societal norms, in appearance and just want free compliments. However, as to why the comments are usually malignant, I'm guessing that's just one of the many flavors of Reddit's twisted sense of humor at times. Aiden Seneca with Krause says, I heard somewhere at least one of those is an incel conspiracy aimed at taking women down a peg. Edmus 1977 says, ugh, those subreddits are the worst. Like, who even cares about some random stranger's opinion on their looks? And then they downvote you for being nice? Ridiculous. I'm this close to throwing my phone out the window too. Kalatnik says, I mute so many subs. A few of those rate me ones used to pop up, no reason to see any of that. Flatty from says, I don't understand why you want perfect strangers' approval on how you look. Chances are none of these people will ever meet in person or talk beyond that post. Who cares what random strangers think? Sakurfawn Warabit says, I saw a video about subs like this. The whole point of them is to knock women down. They purposely never issue good ratings and destroy anybody who pays the ops compliments. They're useless places. Craftisapfo says, there used to be Hatornet.com back in the early 2000s. So it's been a thing forever. HotPair2195 says, a lot of them are of advertisements. Wherever Putnaki says, looks change. Nobody needs to be attractive. Stop wasting your time on this stuff ASAP and focus on learning what makes you, you. Flu says, I only use my home feed, and I turned off suggestions for subs I don't follow. I rarely see any of that garbage as a result. Psychological1046 says, they're on Liffen/Fansly ads 90% plus of the time if you click on their profiles, which is what's really cringe to me. Honeyed Life says, I've also muted all the adjacent subs you've mentioned. To your point about whether or not this has been around for a while, did anyone else here get victimized by liver journal rating communities like Nanuglyphits? That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe